Comment where you're watching from today, as we share a story about how a simple charity event turned into one of the most talked about moments in recent media history. The prestigious Anderson Hall at the Metropolitan Tech Center hummed with anticipation. Linda Wilson, the event coordinator, frantically checked her tablet as she received the news that would throw the carefully planned charity debate into chaos. Both moderators had called in sick with severe food poisoning. The annual Tech and Society Summit was meant to be a controlled discussion about artificial intelligence and social media's impact on democracy, with carefully vetted questions and pre-approved topics. Instead, it was about to become something no one could have predicted. Thomas Clark, the head of security, approached Linda with concern etched on his face. Both Robert Harris and Margaret Moore just confirmed they won't make it. We have less than an hour before the event starts, and we have no moderator for what might be the most volatile debate of the year. The debate had already generated intense media attention when it was announced that Elon Musk and Donald Trump would share the stage, discussing everything from electric vehicles to social media platforms. The tension in the room was palpable as staff members scrambled to find a solution. Sarah Davis, the tech correspondent covering the event for a major network, was already setting up her equipment when she overheard the crisis unfolding. "What about Jason Statham?" she suggested, pointing toward the actor who had arrived early to support the charity aspect of the event. "He's sharp, unbiased, and nobody would dare talk over him." Jason Statham had been quietly observing the mounting chaos from a corner of the room. He'd come to support the Children's Technology Education Initiative that would benefit from the event's proceeds, never expecting to be anything more than a celebrity guest. Now all eyes turned to him. Michael Miller, the event's technical director, had worked with Statham on several film projects. "He's actually perfect," he said, making his way over to where Jason stood. "He's got no political agenda, he's quick on his feet, and he knows how to control a room." Linda approached Jason with a mix of desperation and hope. "Mr. Statham, I know this isn't what you signed up for, but we're in an impossible situation. Would you consider moderating?" Jason's initial reaction was to decline. He was an actor, not a political moderator. But as he looked around at the staff's worried faces and thought about the children's programs that would benefit from the event, something shifted in his expression. Elizabeth Garcia, one of the event's beneficiaries who ran a coding program for underprivileged youth, spoke up. "The kids in our program look up to you, Mr. Statham. They see you as someone who always steps up when needed." Just then, Sandra Williams burst into the room with news that made the situation even more urgent. "Musk and Trump are both already here, in separate holding rooms. And neither of them is happy about the delay." Jason straightened his jacket, a subtle smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Well," he said in his distinctive voice, "I suppose someone's got to keep order." The relief in the room was immediate, but it was quickly replaced by a new tension as the staff realized they had less than 30 minutes to brief Jason on the debate format and protocols. Karen Thompson, the legal advisor, quickly pulled together the essential rules while David Smith, the technology consultant, gave Jason a crash course on the key technical issues that would be discussed. As word spread through the venue that Jason Statham would be moderating, the atmosphere began to shift. The audience, already excited about the high-profile debate, buzzed with renewed interest. Social media exploded with speculation about how the action star would handle these two controversial figures. In the green room, Patricia Harris hurriedly adjusted the seating arrangement on stage. "3 alpha personalities," she muttered. "This is either going to be brilliant or a disaster." Charles Rodriguez, who handled the venue's audiovisual setup, made last-minute adjustments to ensure every microphone could be controlled independently. "Just in case," he said with a knowing look at Jason, "you might need to cut someone off." As the minutes ticked down, Jason stood in the wings, reviewing his notes. He could hear the audience filling the hall, could feel the electric anticipation in the air. This wasn't like preparing for an action scene. There would be no second takes, no stunt doubles, no safety nets. Richard Sanchez, the head of broadcast operations, approached with a final check. "We're going live in 10 minutes. The whole world will be watching this, Mr. Statham. Are you sure you're ready?" Jason's response was characteristic of his on-screen persona: calm, collected, and subtly confident. Let's give them something to talk about. What happened next would become one of the most watched and discussed events of the year. An action star known for his physical presence was about to step into the role of intellectual referee between two of the most controversial and influential figures in modern society. Let us know in the comments if you've ever found yourself thrust into an unexpected situation that changed everything. Sometimes the most memorable moments come when we least expect them. The backstage area of Anderson Hall had transformed into a hive of controlled chaos. Jennifer Lee, the stage manager, coordinated with her team through wireless headsets as they made final preparations for what was already being called the debate of the century on social media. Jason Statham stood before a mirror in the preparation room, where William White, the wardrobe supervisor, made final adjustments to his perfectly tailored suit. Unlike his usual action movie attire, tonight he wore a classic black suit that spoke of authority without ostentation. 3 minutes to broadcast came Mary Robinson's voice over the intercom system. The veteran broadcast director had overseen countless political debates, but even she couldn't hide the nervous excitement in her voice. In separate holding rooms, the two debaters were making their final preparations. Thomas More, the technical advisor assigned to Elon Musk's room, reported that the tech mogul was calmly reviewing data on his tablet. Meanwhile, Barbara Miller, stationed outside Trump's preparation area, indicated that the former president was engaged in animated discussion with his advisors. Matthew Garcia, the head of cybersecurity, approached Jason with last-minute instructions about the secure communication system. If anything goes wrong, just tap the small button under the moderator's desk. It'll cut all microphones instantly. Linda Wilson reappeared, her tablet displaying a stream of incoming social media reactions. The unexpected moderator choice had sent the internet into overdrive. Mr. Statham, we're currently trending #1 worldwide. The pressure's enormous, but remember, you're in control. Michael Thompson, the lighting director, adjusted the final settings. The stage was set up like a high-stakes poker game, 3 chairs, 3 microphones, and nowhere to hide. The overhead lights cast carefully calculated shadows that would emphasize every expression, every gesture. Sandra Martinez hurried over with the final briefing cards. "We've simplified the format," she explained. "Given the unique circumstances, we're focusing on 4 main topics: technology, social media, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence." Nancy Thomas, monitoring the audience as they filed in, reported an electric atmosphere. The crowd was a who's who of tech industry leaders, political figures, and celebrities. Among them sat Sarah Davis, who would be providing live commentary for her network, and Richard Anderson, whose tech blog had millions of followers. Jason reviewed his notes one final time. Elizabeth Clark, a veteran debate coach who had been hastily called in, had spent the last hour giving him crash courses in moderation techniques. "Remember," she'd said, "you're not just managing a conversation, you're preventing a collision." The floor manager, Joseph Robinson, began the countdown. In the control room, Karen Miller directed her team through final equipment checks. The world was watching and everything had to be perfect. As Jason prepared to take the stage, Daniel Taylor, the event's head of security, delivered a final update. "Both participants have agreed to the modified rules. But sir, well, let's just say we're ready for anything." The massive screens above the stage flickered to life, displaying the event's title, "The Future of Technology and Society, a Critical Debate." Below it, 3 names appeared, and Christopher Anderson, manning the social media desk, reported that the unexpected combination was already breaking engagement records. Mark White, the sound engineer, did a final check on the microphones. "Remember," he told Jason, "if things get too heated, just give me the signal. I can fade them out gradually, make it look like a technical issue rather than a cutoff." Patricia Perez, who handled participant relations, had spent the last hour mediating between the teams of both debaters. "They're both, let's say, energized," she reported. "This could get interesting very quickly." Lisa Garcia, monitoring the global broadcast feed, confirmed that over 200 countries were now carrying the event live. "The viewing numbers are already breaking records," she announced, "and we haven't even started." Jason took his position in the wings, his characteristic calm masking the intensity of the moment. Susan Jackson, his personal assistant for the evening, handed him a final note. "Just be yourself. That's why we chose you." The main hall lights dimmed, and Robert Wilson, the announcer, began his introduction. The audience fell silent as his voice filled the hall. "Live from Anderson Hall, welcome to a special edition of the Tech and Society Summit's Great Debate." Margaret Martin, monitoring social media sentiment, watched as hashtags exploded across all platforms. The unexpected combination of personalities had captured the world's imagination in a way no one had predicted. As the introduction continued, Betty Anderson, coordinating with international broadcasters, reported that translation services were active in 40 languages. This wasn't just a debate, it was becoming a global event. David Smith, the event's historian, was already taking notes. "Whatever happens next," he muttered, "will be studied for years to come." The first glimpse of Elon Musk entering from stage left sent a ripple through the audience. He moved with his characteristic casual confidence, dressed in a dark suit that seemed to emphasize his tech maverick persona. Moments later, Donald Trump appeared from stage right, his presence commanding immediate attention. The contrast between the two men's styles was immediately apparent: old-school power versus new-age disruption. And then Jason Statham walked to center stage, his measured steps and controlled presence instantly establishing him as more than just a celebrity moderator. He was the barrier between two forces of nature, the fulcrum upon which the entire event would balance. As they took their seats, Anthony Jones, the body language expert hired by the network, noted the subtle positioning of all three men. Musk is leaning slightly forward, eager to engage. Trump is leaning back, projecting confidence. And Statham, he's perfectly centered, perfectly balanced. The audience held its collective breath as Jason adjusted his microphone. Linda Hernandez, monitoring the broadcast feed, confirmed that every camera was capturing the moment perfectly. The lighting caught the slight glint in Jason's eye, a look familiar to anyone who had seen him prepare for an on-screen confrontation. "Good evening," Jason began, his voice carrying the same quiet authority that had made him a star. "We're here tonight to discuss the future, not just of technology, but of society itself." The first exchange of glances between Musk and Trump sent a visible current through the audience. Charles Rodriguez, operating the main camera, zoomed in slightly to capture the moment. This wasn't just going to be a debate, it was going to be a clash of worlds. Sarah Wilson, coordinating with fact-checkers standing by in a nearby room, confirmed that their systems were ready. Every statement, every claim would be analyzed in real time. Jason continued his opening remarks, his words carefully measured. "The rules are simple. We'll address each topic in turn. Responses will be timed. And most importantly," here he paused, his gaze moving between the two men, "we will maintain civility." The slight shift in both debaters' posture at that last word didn't escape the notice of Nancy White, the behavioral analyst watching from the front row. This was the moment of truth. Would they accept the authority of this unexpected moderator? Let us know in the comments if you've ever found yourself serving as a mediator between powerful personalities. Sometimes the most challenging role is being the voice of reason in a storm of strong opinions. The first question landed like a stone in still water, creating ripples that would soon become waves. Jason Statham's voice carried across Anderson Hall with measured authority. "Mr. Musk, let's begin with artificial intelligence. You've recently expressed concerns about its rapid development. Could you elaborate on the specific threats you see?" Sandra Williams, monitoring the audio levels, noticed how the usual background noise of shuffling and whispers had completely ceased. The audience was holding its collective breath. Elon Musk leaned forward, his expression intense. "The danger isn't just in what AI can do now, but in what it's becoming. We're creating something that could surpass human intelligence within years, not decades. And we're doing it without proper safeguards." Before Jason could direct the next question, Trump interjected. Typical doom and gloom from the electric car guy. "Let me tell you about AI. Nobody knows more about AI than me. We need to beat China, and we're going to use AI to do it. It's going to be beautiful." Jason's hand moved subtly toward the microphone control, But instead of cutting them off, he did something unexpected. He stood up. The simple action, performed with his characteristic controlled power, immediately commanded attention. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying that quiet authority that had made him famous, "we're going to maintain order. Mr. Trump, you'll have your turn. Mr. Musk, please continue with specific examples." Elizabeth Garcia, the tech analyst in the front row, scribbled notes frantically. This was already departing from any traditional debate format, becoming something entirely new. Musk continued, now more focused. "Take the recent developments in autonomous systems. We're seeing AI make decisions that we can't fully understand or predict. That's not just a technical problem, it's an existential one." Jason nodded, then turned to Trump. "Your response, but keep it focused on the technology, not the competition." The former president adjusted his tie, a familiar gesture that Margaret Moore, the body language expert, noted in her analysis. "Look, AI is like any tool. In the right hands, American hands, it's going to be incredible. But Elon here, he's too worried about robots taking over. We need to be bold, not scared." The tension in the room was building. Michael Miller, watching the social media feeds, reported that hashtags were exploding. The unexpected dynamics between the three men on stage was captivating audiences worldwide. Jason steered the conversation with remarkable dexterity. "Let's focus on practical implications. Mr. Musk, you've implemented AI in your vehicles. Mr. Trump, you've dealt with AI's impact on social media. How do we balance progress with protection?" What followed was unlike anything the audience had expected. Instead of the anticipated chaos, they witnessed something approaching an actual dialogue, punctuated by Jason's firm but fair interventions. Thomas Clark, the security chief, relaxed slightly as it became clear that Statham's presence was having the desired effect. The actor's physical authority translated surprisingly well into intellectual authority. When the discussion turned to social media, sparks really began to fly. Trump's passion about platform access met Musk's technical expertise about content moderation, creating a volatile mix that threatened to explode. "The platforms are rigged," Trump declared, his voice rising. "Completely rigged against conservative voices." Musk began to respond about algorithmic fairness, but the former president continued, his voice growing louder. That's when Jason demonstrated why he had been the perfect choice. He didn't just interrupt, he commanded. "We're not here to relitigate the past," he stated, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "We're here to discuss solutions. Mr. Musk, how would you address these concerns technically?" Linda Wilson, watching from the wings, noticed how both men instinctively responded to Jason's authority. It was as if his action hero persona had transformed into something else, a force for intellectual order. The debate took another unexpected turn when discussing electric vehicles. Trump's skepticism met Musk's enthusiasm, but Jason kept them focused on facts rather than rhetoric. "The numbers don't lie," Musk stated, pulling up statistics on the display screen. "Numbers can be manipulated," Trump countered. "I've seen better numbers, much better numbers." Jason intervened again, this time with a touch of his screen-honed timing. "Let's look at the actual data. Mr. Musk, source these numbers. Mr. Trump, specify your alternative figures." Sarah Davis, still providing live commentary, noted how Jason's approach was forcing both men to be more specific, more accountable. It was changing the nature of the dialogue. The real fireworks began when the topic turned to the future of democracy in a digital age. Robert Harris, monitoring the broadcast feeds, reported that viewer numbers were reaching unprecedented levels. "Democracy is under attack from these tech companies," Trump declared, gesturing toward Musk. "Democracy is under attack from misinformation," Musk countered, his usual calm showing cracks. Jason chose this moment to demonstrate why action stars make good mediators. He stood again, this time moving slightly forward. "Gentlemen, we're here to illuminate, not inflame. Mr. Musk, define misinformation technically. Mr. Trump, specify your concerns about tech companies precisely." Karen Thompson, the fact-checking coordinator, was impressed by how Jason's interventions were forcing both men to be more specific, making her team's job easier and the dialogue more substantive. As the debate progressed, something unexpected began to emerge. Under Jason's firm but fair moderation, actual points of agreement began to surface. Both men acknowledged the need for some form of AI regulation. Both expressed concerns about foreign technological influence. Both saw the need for better digital literacy. Patricia Harris, who had moderated many debates herself, watched in admiration as Jason handled each potential explosion with the same skill he brought to his action sequences: precise timing, measured response, and just enough force to maintain control. When Musk began explaining the technical details of neural networks, Trump's patience visibly waned. But before he could interrupt, Jason smoothly redirected the conversation. Let's make this concrete. How would these systems affect the average American worker? The question brought the technical discussion down to earth, allowing both men to engage on more familiar ground. David Smith, the economic analyst, noted how this pattern kept repeating, technical complexity balanced with practical application. As they approached the final segment, William White noticed something remarkable. The antagonism between the two debaters had evolved into something approaching reluctant respect, all under Jason's careful guidance. The future isn't just about technology, Musk offered, it's about wisdom in using it. For once, I agree with Elon, Trump responded, surprising everyone. America needs to be wise and strong. Jason seized this moment of agreement. Let's expand on that. How do we ensure both wisdom and strength in our technological future? The resulting discussion was unlike anything anyone had expected. Sandra Martinez, the veteran political reporter, would later write that it was the first time she'd seen these two influential figures actually engage in meaningful dialogue rather than talking points. As they approached the end, Jason demonstrated one final masterclass in control. Rather than letting either man dominate the closing statements, he posed a challenge to both. In one sentence, tell us your vision for the future, but it must be a future you both could work toward. The silence that followed was electric. Richard Sanchez, still operating the main camera, captured the moment both men actually paused to consider their words carefully. Let us know in the comments if you've ever witnessed unlikely opponents find common ground. Sometimes the most powerful moments come when strong personalities learn to listen to each other. The final moments of the debate hung in the air like electricity before a storm. Jason Statham stood at the moderator's podium, his presence commanding yet calming as he prepared to wrap up what had become one of the most watched events in recent history. Linda Wilson's tablet was practically smoking with incoming data. The viewing numbers had surpassed the Super Bowl, the Oscars, and any previous political debate. Margaret Moore, handling social media analytics, reported that they had broken Twitter's engagement records 3 times over. Before we conclude, Jason said, his voice carrying that quiet authority that had maintained order throughout the evening, I'd like both gentlemen to share what they've learned from each other tonight. The request was unorthodox, nothing like the usual debate format. Thomas Clark, the event director, held his breath. But something extraordinary happened. Elon Musk spoke first, his usual technical precision giving way to something more reflective. I've learned that sometimes the most complex problems need simple, direct communication. And, he added with a slight smile, that fear about technology crosses all political lines. Trump's response surprised everyone. Elon understands things I don't, the technical stuff. But I understand people. Maybe we need both. And maybe, he glanced at Jason, we need someone to keep us honest. Sarah Davis, still providing live commentary, struggled to capture the significance of the moment. What had begun as a potential disaster had transformed into something unprecedented, a genuine dialogue between two of the most controversial figures in modern society. Michael Miller, monitoring the global response, reported that clips were already going viral. The moment when Jason had silently stood up during a particularly heated exchange, restoring order without saying a word, was being shared millions of times. Elizabeth Garcia, the tech analyst, was furiously completing her final notes. This isn't just about technology or politics anymore, she said to her recorder. This is about how we communicate in the modern age. As the formal debate concluded, Robert Harris directed the cameras to capture the unexpected sight of Musk and Trump actually shaking hands, with Jason standing between them, his mission accomplished. But the story wasn't over. In the green room afterward, Sandra Williams overheard a conversation that would soon make its own headlines. Trump turned to Jason and said, "You should moderate the presidential debates. Nobody else could keep order like that." Musk agreed, adding, "We need more of this actual dialogue, not just shouting matches." And it took someone from outside the system to show us how. Patricia Perez, coordinating the post-event interviews, was swamped with requests. Every major network wanted to know how Jason Statham, known for action movies rather than political discourse, had managed to create one of the most substantive discussions of the year. The actor's response, when finally cornered by Jennifer Lee for a comment, was characteristically understated. In action films, you learn to read the room, to sense when tension is building, to know when to move and when to stay still. Tonight wasn't so different. David Smith, analyzing the debate's economic impact, reported that markets were already responding positively to the unexpected display of potential cooperation between two influential figures. Karen Thompson, who had been tracking audience reactions, shared some remarkable data. We're seeing unprecedented levels of engagement from demographics that usually ignore political discourse. Something about this format broke through the usual barriers. The impact continued to ripple outward. William White, coordinating with international broadcasters, reported that the debate was being rebroadcast globally, with demand for translations in dozens of languages. But perhaps the most significant moment came later that evening, when Richard Sanchez captured an unscripted interaction in the parking garage. Musk and Trump, each heading to their respective vehicles, were discussing the possibility of a joint initiative on AI safety regulations. Linda Hernandez, still monitoring social media, watched as the hashtag Statham for moderator began trending worldwide. People weren't just talking about what was said in the debate. We're talking about how it was said, about the possibility of actual dialogue in an age of shouting matches. Mary Robinson, the veteran broadcast director, summed it up best. "We didn't just watch a debate tonight. We watched a masterclass in communication." As the event wound down, Charles Rodriguez was archiving the footage when he noticed something interesting. Throughout the entire debate, Jason had only raised his voice once, and that single moment of controlled authority had been more effective than hours of shouting would have been. The Children's Technology Education Initiative, almost forgotten in the drama of the debate, ended up receiving record donations. Anthony Jones, handling the charity aspects, reported that both Musk and Trump had made substantial contributions, inspired by the evening's success. Mark White, breaking down the technical equipment, found Jason helping the crew, as comfortable with cables and cases as he had been moderating global figures. "Tonight wasn't about me," he told the surprised technician. "It was about showing that conversation is still possible." The next morning, as Susan Jackson compiled the media coverage, the story had evolved beyond the debate itself. People were talking about a new way of handling public discourse, about the possibility of productive dialogue even between apparent opponents. Nancy Thomas, writing her analysis for a major newspaper, posed the question, what if the solution to our communication crisis isn't more rules or better technology, but simply better moderators? What if what we really need are people who understand both strength and restraint? The impact on both participants was notable. In the following weeks, Musk's social media posts became more measured, more considerate. Trump's public statements showed an unexpected willingness to engage with technical expertise. But perhaps the most lasting impact was on public discourse itself. Other organizations began requesting similar formats, seeking moderators from unexpected backgrounds, looking for ways to recreate the magic of that evening. Jason himself received countless offers to moderate other high-profile debates, all of which he politely declined. "Some things work because they're unexpected," he told Margaret Martin in a rare follow-up interview. "The moment you try to turn it into a formula, you lose the magic." The event became a case study in communication schools. Barbara Miller, a professor of public discourse, developed an entire curriculum around what she called the Statham method, the art of maintaining control through presence rather than power. 6 months later, When another tech summit brought Musk and Trump together again, something had changed. The antagonism had been replaced by a wary respect. They didn't agree on everything, or even most things, but they had learned to disagree productively. And somewhere in Hollywood, Jason Statham returned to making action movies, carrying with him the knowledge that sometimes the most powerful moments don't involve any action at all. Let us know in the comments if you've ever witnessed someone bring peace to a tense situation through unexpected means. Sometimes the best mediators are the ones we least expect.